I will not do a story, like I will do the emotional part, not the technical part. So easy, so everybody can get inspired by that. And believe me, the only important thing was to listen to myself. And that's the hard part. And that's the thing, you don't want to do it as a young person. You think that everybody else knows better than you what you have to do. But actually, you know the best. And you have to listen to yourself. If you listen to yourself, you'll feel like what you're meant to be, what is your future looks like. And I will tell you something else. All the young people ask me, how you discover your passion. And I know that from my teachers. I got, in one moment of my life, some great teachers. So they tell me all the time, what you're able to do without payment, without pay, without any advantage, without what you're able to do in any condition, what you want to do in any condition, what you feel like you want to do in any conditions. And when you discover that, that's your passion. You cannot start thinking, and I know here in my country, I get this motivation from all the young people, oh, but I have to make money. You don't have to make money. You can starve. It's okay. Nobody dies from starvation. We live in a 21st century. Starvation is it is in some countries. Guillaume can tell us more about places where people starve. But in Europe, you don't starve. You can work. You can eat less. Exactly.
In Vâlcea, it's okay. I mean.
There you go. So you have to make some sacrifice. You cannot get everything just like that, without any sacrifice. So starve and do what you love to do in the world, because life is very short. I will tell you again something about me. This year I get a very round number. My age is a half of century. I have 50 years old. It's a half of century. The life passes very fast. So do what you love, because otherwise, look at, I tell you, you get to a half a century and you look back and you think, oh my God, what I did, I just make some money. It's not right. So do what you love. So now I will not go because this will be too much. So I start thinking about this job right away after revolution, when I start to do a little bit of commerce, and I realize that I want to have control about the product, and I start thinking, how can I control it? So I start drawing it. And when I realized that I don't know to draw very well, I went to school to learn to draw. And after that, I start manufacturing. And when I realized I don't know to manufacture, I went to school for manufacturing, and for that I immigrate, because I didn't have your conditions with a passport, European passport. I have to immigrate. So I work as a kind of designer for an Italian company who moves to Turkey. And there I changed my job for more money, because I was saving money for the school, to a Turkish company, Damat and Twin. You know, they are in the mall now, anyhow. So I work from them. I save money 2 years. I eat just olives with cheese, feta cheese, you know feta cheese, and vegetables for almost 2 years. And I save all the money so I can go to United States to a school, which I paid. So after 2 years, a guy very connected with the Security and Communist Party helped me to get from Romania a visa, student visa for United States. And I have some friends in the United States who sponsor me. And I went to school there. I stayed in school not too long. I was already old enough. I was almost 30. But I stayed in school. From the second year, I start assisting and working a little bit, because I need to work. So that was, and I never did anything else in my life. I just did this job. I worked as a waiter when I was a student for a month, and they fired me. I was not good on that. I did some crazy things. So, and after that, I came back to Romania looking to do something I love and trying to make a mark in the world in the way that my life is not for nothing. I can do something. I can bring a little bit of happiness or beauty in the world. That's my goal. And I was thinking, how can I do that with my job? And I find a way. Everybody can find a way. So that's my story.
Andrei?
Yeah.
What's your story?
Coming up.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting because you're coming from a different generation than a lot of us, I think. So it's extremely interesting to see that you still managed to follow your dream, even if back then in Romania probably fashion was not even something that was communicated.
Not even now.
Thank you. Well, Andrei.
Yeah. Hi. So it's hard to come after that. So hi, my name is Andrei. And first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's really cool, really cool to be here with these guys. But I'm really happy and really honored to be near this guy, which is amazing. And I'm actually, like you guys, I'm really happy to hear him talk. So I will be short, so he has more time. So really short, my story is that I've been working now 14 years total in marketing. I've been working around 12 years in big multinational companies in marketing departments. I'm working like companies like Ursus or EMAG. I've been the brand manager for Ursus. I've been the brand manager for Grolsch here in Romania, and I've built the brand from zero. Then I went and I worked for Grolsch Global almost a year, and I've been working in Amsterdam, building the brand. So whatever we did here, we exported it to the brand for around the world. And after that, I decided to build my own agency. So I left the companies and I've built an agency which is called The Temple, which has a very interesting and unique concept. It's totally different. We'll talk about that a little bit earlier. So the decision of doing that, actually I'm exactly like you, so it wasn't a moment when I decided, because I don't see life like that. I'm a strategy guy. I've done strategies all my life. It would be really hard for me to be impulsive and not in a clear, like a vision of what I want to do. So I knew that I want to have an agency since I've been a client, and I'm preparing myself and killing the other agencies for it, because I was like giving them ideas and I shouldn't have do that, so they were all hating me. So I was preparing for that when I was a client, and I worked towards that. So I think that as a learning, so structure my stories in learnings, I think that you work towards something. You don't decide at a point that you change your life. It could happen for some people, but for me, it's more about working towards something. So I knew that I wanted an agency. I decided to leave and build this agency. I was really lucky because I had an awesome impact right from the beginning. It was overwhelming and it was incredible. So I worked, the first year and a half, I worked around 14 hours a day, even weekends. I've lost all my friends in this year. Right now I can say that I have almost no friends because, I mean, yeah, exactly. I don't have a problem with that. But about sacrifices, I mean, that's what I wanted to do. And if they didn't stay near me, although 1 year I didn't saw them, that's their problem. And what I know also is that I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So my vision is that I'm seeing my career or my professional, let's say, path as a way of building myself, as a way of building my abilities, of what I am as a human being. So I've moved from a client and a business part to an agency because I wanted to add new skills and to add new abilities to my own.
But something that I really liked about your bio and about our discussion was that you're telling me that you decided to do this because you wanted to focus on the human aspect rather than on the commercial aspect. So how did you come, after working so many years in corporations, how did you come up with this need of focusing on the human part?
Yeah, corporations are also about people. I mean, what we are talking about. Corporations are made of people, and they are about people.
But they're focused on selling.
They're focused on selling, and that's one of the things that they should be focusing on. It's okay that they're focusing on selling. The problem is that when they're only focusing on selling, and that's a problem. You need to be focusing on selling, and you need also to focusing, as we were talking earlier, to have an impact, both for your employees, for your society, I mean, so many layers. So yeah, we focused on the human. We build a concept which is called human marketing, which is a totally new way of doing marketing. And what is my quest is that I want to change the way people are doing marketing, and I'm not talking only here. The way they see what's the role of marketing. So moving marketing, overall putting advertising also in marketing, moving it from a role of building awareness, because this is what we do, communication. What the fuck was that? I'm not communicating, I'm building brands, I'm a brand builder. So I'm not just communicating, I'm interacting, I'm engaging. So moving from building awareness and selling some TVCs and some radio spots and with some nice concepts, moving towards building relationships with customers on a value exchange. We give you something of value to you, and you give us both your time and your attention. Your attention and your money, right? Your time and your money. And you give that us back. So when I'm looking at your TVC, I'm giving you your time. Me as a customer, I'm giving to you as a brand my time. I'm paying with something, even watching. So if I don't get something in return, if you're selling me something, if you're telling me something about, I'm the greatest water in the world, I mean, I'm the best water, it's like, what's in it for me? Really, what's in it for me? Well, I'll give you the opportunity to buy me, to spend money on me. It's like, I was always shocked about this attitude of marketing people, and honestly, I want to change that. And this is kind of the ways and again, part of the journey that I see as a professional journey is not about me getting to building this agency where I have, money, making money, employees. No, I see this professional journey as a way of building myself as a person. And to do that, for instance, I want to have my 3 next steps as I see them towards the end of my life, because I can kind of plan everything. One of them is to be a photographer. I love photography and I want to be a photographer. I'm not capable today to do that, and I want to take 20 years to learn that, at least 20 years to learn to do that. I want to be towards the end of my life, I want to be a basketball coach. This is my dream at the end of my life, to kind of but to be at very high level. Everything to go toward being that leader of a team and being a basketball coach. That's kind of the road I want to take.
And those are just random? You just chose basketball and photography?
No, I love them. That's the point of what he said. I love them. And coming to your question, and this is the last point, one of the biggest challenges that I faced, and I face even today, and that was the scariest thought when I was a client and I said, I want to be an agency, is this very dangerous thought. Who gives me the right to do this? What gives me the right to do this? What gives me the right to think that I can change marketing? Who gives me this right? And this is a very scary thought. You put yourself in a very dark little room, you make yourself little, and say, who gives me this right? Nobody, right? Who am I to do this? Right? I mean, I'm just another guy, nothing different. So I study a lot of philosophy, and I study a lot of great people, how they reached their vision, and nobody gives them the right to do that. I mean, they just did it. The ones that just did it. And nobody's like, now you are going to be the guy that reinvents Romanian fashion. Now take this role, it's given to you. Everyone supports you. No, he took it by himself.
But that's the role of entrepreneurs, to take it on themselves and change.
Unfortunately, not for all. So unfortunately, if we're talking about Romanian business, the role of entrepreneurs is to have this dream of being free. I've never been more closed since I have my own business. Never in my life felt more the lack of freedom, because I have clients right now. and I depend on that client, and if my client is not satisfied, then it's not like, okay, I'm going to resign, move to the next company. You're my boss, I don't like you, fuck you, I'm going to move to the next. No, that's my client. If I lose him, I lose my business. I lose a lot of my business. So I have 3 or 4 big clients because we are like 2 partners, and Sylvia, it's over there. So like 2 partners, and we have a lot of freelancers that we work through, and we have 3 big clients. We're a small agency, and we said 10 years I want to be a small agency. 10 years. After 10 years, we'll see.
Great, thank you. So Guillaume, I actually met Guillaume, I don't know, a couple of months ago in New York, and I realized he has like a really impressive story, and it's a bit different. You started very early, right? In your 21.
I feel a bit sorry because you both have a really romantic views on entrepreneurship, and for me it's not like that at all. I arrived to Berlin when I was 19, after living Paris, and I was a really bad student, so I had really bad grades, and it was really hard to get a job. So I created my own company. So that's basically how I came to this point. So it sounds really opportunistic, but I also believe like being an entrepreneur is taking advantage of certain situations. So, you can look at that from both angles. So the story was, it was like, my first company was 7 years ago, when all these social games were really big, Farmville. We all got these requests on Facebook, you want to play with me on my farm? And it was a really hot topic, and I met a guy and I told him, dude, we're going to make a Farmville in augmented reality. And he said, wow, that's good, let's do it. And I had no idea of tech. I was studying digital design. And we created this concept with a lot of wins, and we we succeed to convince investors to lend us about 1.7 million euro to do that. So that was, I was 21. We had a lot of money on the bank account. We lost a lot of money, but it was my first, encounter with entrepreneurship. And I'm really happy that actually I had this tough learning so early in my life, because I understood relatively quickly that, as you said, it's not about money, it's not about fame, it's not about being the center of attention. It's about letting something valuable behind you. And it took me a bit more time to really understand what it meant. So that was my first company. Then I took over the position of managing director of a European magazine called The European, that we sold in 2015. And during this process, I actually met Jason, my business partner, just in front of me, not listening at all. And I'm kidding. And Jason taught me this idea of social entrepreneurship, of using business for good. And not this kind of good thing like I'm going to disrupt the world of digital apps. No, the real disruption. Like giving opportunities to those who need, trying to make something good. I mean, being profitable, because at the end of the day, a business needs to make money, but really empower people. And that was really new, and really new to me, because I was living in a bubble where it was all about raising a lot of money from VCs, being on stage, speaking about apps, speaking about digital age, about disrupting an industry, And he really opened my mind. He was really idealistic, obviously, but it really brought something new to this process. That's why we created together Virtu, which is a ethical clothing brands. So we are producing under fair conditions in Dominican Republic, Bolivia, Portugal, and why not Romania? So the idea, no, you don't love. The idea is to produce normal clothing for men and having a social impact whatsoever. So it can be providing education, it can be teaching you a job, it can
providing jobs.
Sorry?
Providing jobs for
Providing a job, yeah, but a job, with value, because I think our view differs a little bit about being free or not. Our society taught us during years that you had to work 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, doing 60 years to reach retirement and then enjoy your life, And I think that's a wrong concept. So giving a job actually we are trying to work with communities who want to sue, who want to produce something. And exactly, so we try to have a positive social impact in a community to which we intervene. And So what was the question again? How to come? Yeah, how to come to entrepreneurship? That's
You're
the short
answering.
version. Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. What's clear about all of you is that you're all coming from different backgrounds in a way, different age and different, and also you're doing, the two of you are fashion, but it's a different type. So I wanted to ask, first of all, how is your background influencing what you're doing? So you lived all over the world and then you came back to Romania, which also I want to ask why, but I'll keep this question. And then he basically moved to do good in Latin America, although he's clearly 100% European. So I'm I'm just curious, how is that background influencing the business that you're doing, and how you're like curating it on the background?
My background, this is nice because I will have a joke about this a little bit because it comes with a kind of joke. My background, imagine I'm from Romania. I was there and then from Romania. So I went to school in the United States and I didn't meet any Romanians for the first 2 years. So I lived with my friends, which are from all over the world, and everything was fine till I start getting in touch with the Romanian community. And everybody has stories. I have friends from Peru, I have friends from Brazil, from Argentina, from all Canada or United States, France, Germany, all over the world. And they're all students or friends of mine. And we are like talking about our country. Sometimes after we drink a few beers, we get more melancholic, more nostalgic, and we talk about our countries. And being students, we didn't have time to go home. So we have already 2-3 years we never been home. I came back after 7.5 years. I never came back for 7.5, for the first time. When I get to Bucharest, I was so depressed from the airport because all the buildings were gray that I stayed 2 days and I went back to Paris and I stay a month. And after I come again for 3 days, and like that in 6 months, I start getting used to again to my country. I was so shocked because I realized that nothing changed. Everything was looking more depressing.
But then why did you decide to come to Europe?
Yes, this is what I want to tell you. And in these stories with my friends, I had these colleagues from Peru, a girl and a guy and a girl, and they are talking with tears in their eyes about their birthplace, their families, the place where they are born. It was in a jungle, in a village with, I don't know how to say that maybe, with the houses put it on the water, lacustre, I don't know, lacustre, I don't know how we say it in English, but anyhow, you get it. Water, kind of like in Romanians knows from holidays, because there are a lot of pictures in Facebook with beautiful Bali or I don't know where, same kind of houses, but in a jungle. And their parents, they're living in a old age, in a way that they hunt with a bow some small pigs and they eat those pigs. And that was their culture, totally. And they speak about that full of emotions and full of tears, of course with tears in their eyes, and very nostalgic. And my friend, I had a friend, Romanian, and me, we didn't have anything to say about our country, from where we are. We were like, we are from Romania, don't worry. You tell me the story, very interesting, your story. Wow, wow, wow. And sooner or later, I realized that something is wrong. How can these guys talking about almost nothing as a civilization and culture about their country and their origin, and me coming from Europe with a huge history in the back, with culture and people and civilization, I didn't have anything to say about it. And in that moment, I have like a shocking, and I say something is wrong about that. I think I don't pay attention to something. And I start thinking about my place, and from a big distance, it was easier for me to not look emotional to my place, which I was ashamed. And I'm ashamed today too, a little bit. And I fight with that shame, and I want to talk about it all the time, because I know every of my brothers and sisters from this country, they feel that shame all over the world. And from there, I start my motivation, and I realize that I must do something. It's something I can do about that. I don't know. And I was thinking, maybe I can go back and see why my people and myself, we are so ashamed about our identity. And I came back, and the last 12 years, I tried to works towards this. I try to build something which make people at least not being ashamed and make peace with their identity. And that's a hard job, because the government doesn't help me. No, I'm just kidding. The country is developing very slow in a way, and still I can see people, they don't want to be Romanians anymore. And I remember when I was young, I left here very shameful after I have a huge story in the airport in Cyprus, where they keep me for 2 hours only because I have a Romanian passport, and they say you cannot get in the country because probably you bring girls for prostitution. And I have a friend photographer from Italy. We are like doing a shooting for Marie Claire. I was the stylist, and we have an entire team from Italy and from Turkey. And I was so ashamed about my situation, and they need like the photographer to vouch for me, so I can get in the country. After that, I was just thinking to leave Romania, to change the passport, and never talk about it. And that was my beginning. And I know that still now, a lot of young people, they talk about, oh, we are like European citizens and universal citizens and all that. But I know they say that because they try to avoid talking about being Romanians. And that's my story of my life, because I want to work all my life to build myself, like he said, to get in one day to get up and realize that I'm not ashamed anymore. I don't say to be proud or to be infatuated or to be obsessed with your identity, but at least to not be ashamed about that. So that's my beginning. Thank you. So that's
If I can add to that, I've been wearing your clothes with the because he's bringing back the Romanian traditional clothes to life, and I've been wearing them all over Europe and the US, and absolutely everyone was asking me, what are these? These are beautiful. So you shouldn't be ashamed at all.
I know. I'm not. But I know when I go somewhere, and I know that. Again, it's a fight with myself. It's a growing process. And I come from very far away. I'm a proud and very ambitious guy. So imagine how hard it is for me to see somebody saying, from Romania, okay. So you know that. But I changed that. That dialogue I can change for girls. Because why? When you wear something which at least is different, you never see that. It looks kind of authentic, kind of original, kind of something, innovated. And when you see that, of course, the first impact is visual. So you see a person wearing something interesting, and you're like, wow, that's nice. Where you buy that? And you as a Romanian, you have a new beginning. You don't have to say anymore, oh, you have an accent, you are from East European country somewhere. No, the beginning of the dialogue is, this is from my country. Wow,
it's
beautiful.
About tradition and
what
identity.
country? Yeah, Romania. And you start positive.
Yeah.
And that's my goal, just to
Yeah,
make
well-
people start positive talking about that.
I mean, at least for me and a couple of other people I know, you've done a great job. Thank you.
I'm a lucky guy. So I don't know if I answered to your questions, but it's
Yes,
enough.
you did. I want to take it to Guillaume because it's very interesting how you decided, you and Jason, you decided to go to Latin America. He's from there, but why did you guys thought that that's where you have to start the ethical fashion brand, and why did you find Latin America instead of any other part of the world?
Well, obviously because my business partner came from Dominican Republic, so it was an easier entrance to this continent than starting from scratch. But what we realized is, well, there's different problems, right? Firstly, the fashion industry is one of the most destroying industries in the world. It's the second most polluting industry in the world. So that was something, firstly, where we wanted to intervene. We wanted to change an industry into a destroying industry into something positive. So we knew we had to do something with clothing. And the good thing about Latin America is you have a lot of really talented craftsmen. We spoke before having this panel about the traditions, the manufacturing traditions in different populations of the world. And in Latin America, from Dominican Republic to Mexico to Bolivia, you have this identity communicated through craft, through manufacturing of clothing. And because it was a reflection of the identity, so it was really deeply involved. So that's why we really decided to, to take advantage of this really deeply rooted manufacturing traditions and combining it with the empowerment mission that we had. And we had a lot of luck because we started with Dominican Republic. Then last year we got accepted to an incubator called Startup Chile, which allowed us to expand our production line to Bolivia, which is a neighborhood country. And now we're investigating a bit other options in Latin America. It's definitely another culture. We cannot generalize. It's like saying like all Europe is the same. We're all European, and I'm a really big defender of Europe, but we have different identities, the same in Latin America. So to answer your question as short as possible, is really to take advantage of this tradition of producing clothing.
Taking advantage and also giving back. So how is that model working?
So the idea is relatively simple. So beside paying fair wages, we reinvest half of our profits directly into the community. So if our first item was these shirts, the white shirts, because you have to understand also that ethical fashion is mostly a women business, and I think it's kind of sexist because most of the fair trade products are available for women, but for men it's super hard to find something. Just try to find a white shirt produced under ethical condition. It's almost impossible. So that's why we say let's do something also for men without being machist or whatsoever. And that's why we started with this first shirt, a white shirt, with coconut button, 100% cotton. And that's a shirt that we produce in Dominican Republic, where we pay the people 300% the minimum wage, and we reinvest 50% of the profit per shirt into communities. So we started working with one of the most dangerous neighborhoods of the Caribbean, called Guachupita. It was a really tough experience because me being a white guy going in this neighborhood, I really didn't feel comfortable. Normally I can blend in, but it was hard. And I really saw testified, the situation there, and it was a really deep experience. And so we helped, the 20 youngsters to get a job, to learn something, some skills, because you maybe know, but when you are born in a country or in a neighborhood without opportunities, it's extremely hard to get out of the poverty cycle. It's when you do not have anything else the whole day than being in contact with people selling drugs, like selling their bodies. It's extremely hard to be pulled to the top. So that's where we decided to have an impact. Brings these people a job, an opportunity, some training program. And incorporate them into our workshop where they could, and actually from these 20 youngsters, almost 10 are still working. So it was a pretty successful pilot. And we believe we are on the right, of course we're not as successful as you guys, we are at the beginning, but we have a good traction, a good positive resonance. So we believe that we're on a good way.
I want to ask all of you, and I'll start with you, Andrei. What's the hardest thing that you learn when you become an entrepreneur? Or like the top 3 hardest thing, because we discussed before and you guys said it's not only one, there are like a couple. But I'm curious, like what's the hardest thing that you discover, and what are the lessons learned after you start your own thing?
I think the hardest thing for me, in terms of the thing that I learned the hardest, right? Not the hardest thing, but the thing that I learned the hardest was that you're not alone. I mean, that was like amazing learning for me. When I started, the biggest fear was I'm going to go into this, I'm going to be alone, I have a totally different concept, nobody's going to understand what I want, nobody's going to want what I do, and I was like, what I'm going to do? I'm just going to stay here alone. And after like 2 years now, I find out that I wasn't alone at all. There were like a lot of people which were ready to understand, ready to come by your side, but it just needs a little bit of time. And usually another learning that I have is that, and this is for all the people that want to start something new, and I think that also, like these guys here, I'm also the type of guy which I will always start new things. So after this will kind of be okay, then I will kind of, it's not cool anymore for me, then I will start something new. And by starting so many things new, I've learned something which is pretty cool. It's called a double curve in terms of growth. So when you start something new, a business, an idea, whatever you do, the first thing that you will notice was it's a positive impact, it's a positive outcome. Why? Because you have your friends and the people around you which will support you in a way or another, right? So you have connection, you have people, you have the first wave of people which will come, will buy whatever you sell, you will come near to you. But the problem is, after a while, that will drop. So actually, don't be scared about the first year or the first period, because that's easy. Be scared the first 3 years or the first 5 years, or immediately after your friends will stop using or stop buying from you or stop doing that, and then you need to go out there. You need to reach real people that don't know you, you don't have a background, you have to pitch to them, you have to sell to them, you have to explain to them every time whatever you're doing. In my case, it's very kind of complicated. It's for me kind of difficult to explain sometimes. So actually, after a while, you see this down drop, and then it starts to pick up. And the problem is that it's that moment when it's down where 90% of entrepreneurs leave, because they have this big boost and they have this big minus, and they said, well, it didn't work. But you need actually to go over that period, which could be actually a very long period. And at a point of time, people will start picking up whatever you're doing.
It's interesting because there's the power of networking that you're saying. And I think here at Unfinished, we try to recreate that, to showcase that it's a platform or like-minded people that are trying to do similar things. And even if they're in different fields, from creativity to art to entrepreneurship to business to technology, we all want the same thing in the end, to become better. How was it in your case, Guillaume? Because I think you have a deeper experience, because it's about investors, you did a lot of kickstarting campaigns. Yeah. So I think you can answer this from a very financial even perspective, and how important networking and not being alone and understanding that is for an entrepreneur.
So that's a really interesting point. So last year, as you mentioned, for instance, we had 2 successful crowdfunding campaigns. And we can also, I mean, I have to admit, we overestimated the power of networking. So usually it's the other way, but so crowdfunding is you try to convince all your friends, all your families to invest in your project. And it's pretty awesome for a couple of reasons. First of all, you get money. But on top of that, it allows yourself to pre-sell products, to test the market, to take the pricing. So it has a lot of assets. And our really naively for the first campaign, we thought, okay, we're going to raise 50,000 euro. You, Jason, you have 2,000 Facebook friends. I have 1,500. If everybody gives like 20 euro, it should be okay. And then we realized that nobody is going to pay, you know? I mean, everybody share your project because they really support your idea. But when it's about to put the money, you know, the hand in the pocket, that's a totally different story. You know, and that we realize that there's network, which is good to know a lot of people, but actually how valuable is your network? You know, like how willing are the people to support your idea and to say like, you know what, I'm going in, I'm going to put like $10, $15, $100. And that's actually when you understand knowing a lot of people is actually not enough. You need to be sure that these people really believe in you, that you got your message across. So that was, for instance, a good example of not underestimating network. But on the other way around, I have to say thanks to, I mean, I believe the world today is run by networks. It can be good, it can be bad. I mean, I think in Romania it's quite the same. You know, you have to know the people to organize something. I mean, you can maybe tell yourself, I mean, you organize this great festival with Christian. I would have never been able to do it without knowing the right people, so.
It's about who you know, not what you know.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, network is not about knowing people, it's also about being sure that people understand what you are doing and bringing values to these people.
I have this, so it's a creativity festival here, and it's a lot of different types of creativity. But I'm curious, and I got this question when I was trying to explain the festival, because creativity sounds such a grandiose thing. But I'm curious, Adrian, how do you use creativity in every day, in the way you do your task, you go through your day, you talk with your team, you create your team. Like, what role does creativity play for you, not only in your designs, but in your day-to-day life?
Like I said all the time to my accountant, be creative. To somebody like who is just making a coffee, be creative. Be creative. Creativity is in everything. Is in the way you breathe, in the beginning of the day. Be creative. Creativity is in us. You just have to open a little bit to that. So I expect creativity in marketing, in accounting, in sales, in sales department, of course in design. I expect creativity in the sewing department, because I give them some ideas, I give them a new project, and they have to be creative to find ways of doing it in a way. And I'm there. If they don't know, I show creativity. Be creative, be open. Be open when you do a package, be creative. Be creative all the time. You cannot live in the world without being creative. So it's not, we just have a business. In the end, it's just about a business. All the businesses has to be creative in a way. If you start from the right reasons, and like he said, very nice. No, he said very nice. Andrei said very nice, very clear, something about the drop when you start doing something and you get all your friends involved, and it's great. And after a while, you finish with your friends, and in that moment it's going down. And I have lots of years when a lot of people ask me about this moment, and I see a lot of doubts in young people, and I tell them all the time, you have to put yourself a question: when enough is enough? When you said, I start this business, is not going well already, when enough is enough? If that's your passion, never enough is enough. You never stop, whatever, it doesn't matter. You go forward anyhow, in any conditions. If this is your passion and you breathe and live for that, it's not work. You don't feel it like work. My favorite day is Monday. I love Mondays. I hate weekends, because in the weekends nobody works. Everybody wants to party and be happy and whatever. Sorry, I'm happy Monday. I love to have only Mondays if it's possible.
That's amazing.
In a way, it's just me, because I don't feel that I work. I didn't feel that I work for the last 25 years. And again, never leave your dream, because your dream will never betray you. Even though the business is not working well, right then. So when the business is not working well, my advice, try harder, be creative, move your hands faster. That's the solution. There's no secrets. There are no any, how you call it, spiritual involvement on that. Just be creative. I love this because this was Calvin Klein coming to school when I was a student, and we like having a lot of questions, for example. But Calvin Klein was very specific and very focused and very pragmatic, even though he doesn't look a pragmatic guy, but he was unbelievable pragmatic and business oriented. And we had two questions. Tell me the worst thing in a creative business for the creative guy. And he said, the worst thing is to get in love with your creation. Like, oh my God, I did something. This is my baby. Wow, don't say anything about it. It's perfect. No, it's not. You're a human being. You don't do anything perfect. Everything, it's a little bit interesting and you see it perfect because it's your baby. But move on. Move from that. Let it grow and live it. Live it in the world. Move on. Think about new things. Detach. Don't get attached to that. And the second thing, very important also, is don't, how you call it? Don't stop if you are down and you say, I don't know anything. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm like stuck. And I just want to sell this. I just want to sell it. Why I cannot sell this? And I cannot sell this. What to do? And Calvin Klein said, have another idea. Have a freaking another idea. Don't think about you are born with one idea and that's it. You have it, you cannot do better than that. You should start more and work on the marketing, on the sales strategies, and lying people, because that's the end. The end, the biggest moral problem is how far you go with the lies. I sell this bottle. Oh my God, it's the best drink in the world. If you drink this, you'll be happy. It's a bullshit. It's not true. You'll not be happy. There are some billboards with some cars where they say, happiness is coming. No, happiness is not freaking coming when you buy that car. It's just death. Debt and death. Okay? So it's a lot of lying in advertising, for example. So you have to find ways to be honest and moral with your business, and try to not lie to people, and try to give them something. Now I do a resume of what we talk. To give them a valuable thing. This is great what he said. You cannot sell things asking people just to make you favorites, to like your product and to give money and give you money for that. You have to give them something valuable, special, just for them.
I want to ask Andrei and take it back to him. So how are you creative and also avoid lies in building brands?
Well, this is what we sell, right? So our product, it's creativity. And actually it's solutions for their own businesses and their own products. And just to take and continue what Adrian says, from my point of view, creativity actually is not and should not be seen as a constraint or something that you need to deliver every day and constrains you and even stress you out. I need to be creative today, I need to be creative today. No. Creativity, it's about freedom. It's about releasing yourself. Actually, as he said, we are born creative. As a little child, you are born creative. It's within you. And the society, starting with your parents, they start to close that, and norms start to kill that creativity from you. And it's a simple thing that you need to do. You just release it. Just don't be afraid anymore of the social constraints of whatever other people are thinking, whatever could happen, whatever you think about yourself. And for me, creativity is just releasing that. For me, my biggest fear was I was a client and I was never supposed to be creative, right? The agencies were supposed to be creatives, not me. And the biggest fear of mine was to express an idea, because they were like, no, shut up, you're a client, this is our job. And actually I had this discussion with some very big creative directors, really big. And they said, no, don't do that to us. This is our job. And I said, well, I have an idea, sorry, but I think it's a good one. And I think this could work. And no, shut up. And that's what stressed me, and that's why I left, and that's why I want to change overall marketing. Because from our point of view, what happens right now is extremely wrong. The idea is that we separated the brand, the product, from the brand, and we communicate and we push the brand itself, and the product is totally separate. And like you said, you have an ad, like the Seinfeld, you know the Seinfeld, there was a short joke on Seinfeld very long ago about Coca-Cola, where the guy stands in the front of the TV and a Coca-Cola ad starts. And there were all these people happy, joyful, at the beach, having fun, enjoying life, drinking Coca-Cola. And he opens his Coca-Cola, he takes a sip, he watches again the TVC and watches and said, he looks at the can and he says that they must be putting something wrong in mine. Right? There are no girls here, I'm not having fun, they must be putting something wrong in mine. And I want to challenge that, and I want to bring back the budgets, which are immense of marketing, in adding value again to the customer. So there is a reason for each brand to be alive. Each product has a reason. It does something. And the product usually delivers that, right? And I want marketing to also deliver that. Not just talk about what the product delivers, but to really deliver through also that. And there are a lot of great examples, like Nike Fuel, Nike Running, Nike Fuel, great example. You have Via Michelin, which is an amazing example, right? You have Red Bull TV, and whatever Red Bull did, which is an amazing. So you have great examples, but this is kind of my mission, to try to change what those big guys are doing, where the big budgets are and the big money. And I think it's almost impossible, I know that, but I will still try. And one of the points is why I'm not trying to do something else, because these guys are doing extremely well what they are doing. So I don't think that I could ever do better what they are doing than them. So I decided to try to change what I think I could have an impact.
That's taking us to one of the most important questions of this panel, which is how is your work changing your fields, your respective fields? And in the same time, how is it impacting the community, the country you live in? And if we want to be dreamers, humanity at large, and if it's not doing it now, how do you see it happening in the future? Guillaume?
Well, first of all, it had a really direct and relatively easy to understand consequences. I started to question the way I consume, because it started with a really idealistic, drive, and then you start to realize, yeah, but wait a minute, I'm not that much better than the others. So you start to look at your wardrobe, you start to look at what you buy, and how much waste, and it's kind of, it kind of force you to question yourself and the way you are living. So that was, of course, the direct consequence of having a social business, is that you cannot blind yourself anymore. You cannot be hypocrite and just pretend that nothing happened. So that's of course one of the the most direct consequences of this work. Is unfortunate, because it puts you a lot of question, a lot of doubts, because it starts with fashion, but also going to the way what you eat, and then at some point you're like, oh wait, I cannot just change everything. So but step by step. So that will be the most direct consequences of how my job is influencing my private life. And I guess for you guys, I'll let you. I'm not going to answer for you.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about what we discussed on our first conversation about, you're saying there's all these new trends in what you're doing, and some of them are just used like VR. They're just used for the sake of being used and for the sake of having something cool in the product. So I'm really curious to see, how you see that changing, or how you're trying to do it through your work right now.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm really disappointed that the whole marketing industry, really, really disappointed. So advertising, marketing, brand managers, everyone, at least 20, 30 years going on now, they are going in the wrong direction, totally wrong direction. First of all, we have the advertisers, which just care about awards, really don't care about consumers, and we have the brand managers, which really don't care only about figures. And they have their figures, and they don't, if they push this button, they will have more advertising and more conversions, and then will lead to more sales, and that's it. And the consumer, actually the guy which is paying for the product, is gone from either side, right? It's totally gone. It's not there anymore for the majority of cases. Of course, we have good examples, of course, but I'm talking at, let's say, the mainstream level, the big impact. And what I want to do is to end this conflict between, right now I feel that it's a little bit of conflict between brands and consumers, and you can see that as a demonstration, if everyone needs demonstrations, right? What you're saying. My demonstration, it's called ad block, right? So ad block, at the phenomenon right now, almost 40% of the people have ad block installed, right? But the advertiser didn't get the point, right? It's like, we don't want your advertising anymore. Stop pushing stuff. Stop being intrusive. Stop. But they didn't get that, right? So they're trying to find new ways of being intrusive, new ways of bothering you when whatever you want to do. I mean, they're on you with all this stupid advertising. And I hope in the future, at some point that will end. And taken to a point, one of the things that, again, advertising and marketing people are doing is they want to be always the first, right? I'm the first that did something. I'm the first that did something. I'm the first that used VR. I'm the first. We were in Romania, there were like 5, 6 agencies that were the first to use VR. I mean, now I think almost 10. You find on their site, I was the first. And every time a new trend or something, I was the first to do this. Who cares if you're the first, if you used it stupidly, if you didn't add any value to nobody, who cares if you are the first? This is my point. And I saw people doing VR and paying a lot of money of building. We have our own studio, and we also we film VR. And we see people doing that for no reason. So VR, it's an immersive environment. If you have a story where you need to immerse your spectator, then you go to VR. If you have a simple story where it's better to be framed, so the action happens in a place, and he needs always to find the action, and he just looks one direction, and there's no reason for him to have this 360 view, then it's stupid to go into VR. And I see it every day. Not focusing on the story, not focusing on the idea, and just focusing on using this new technology, which everyone's going to be amazed. I don't believe in that. I still believe in stories. I still believe in the idea. And I believe that the human values will never change, no matter of what the technology will change, right? Our behavior will change, our expectations will change, but not our values. And if you root your idea in expectations or in behaviors, then you will have a small impact, right? So if your insight is about expectation, if your insight is about values, about human values, then your impact will be totally different. And I saw a lot of technology used just for the sake of technology, and I personally hate that, although I have a digital agency. And we done, for instance, we have the first virtual reality movie in Romania. It's called Escape. We did it last year. Now it was in Cannes last week. We did also the first virtual reality stop motion, combining the two technologies, I think a year and a half ago. But honestly, we haven't produced any VR in 6 or 8 months, because we didn't have any. We have the equipment, we have the people. We didn't produce anything because we didn't have any story, any idea that it's about immersing people into an experience, that it had no logic in going there.
Yes, sorry.
So, a quick question for you. You seem to have a really advanced view on advertising and a really holistic approach. You put the human at the center of your concept. I think it's the future. But most of the time, the client is coming and asking, well, you know what, I feel something like in virtual reality. I want ads everywhere. I want traffic. I want to be there. So how do you answer to this? Are you going to say like, no, I'm not going, no, it's not what I'm doing. How do you bring that? How do you educate the clients?
Well, my answer is that I don't have any employees. That's my first answer. Not having any employees means that I can choose my projects. So what we have, we are 2 partners, and we work with around 30 collaborators and freelancers. And depending on the project, we choose with who we work. And why I'm using that model is exactly to do this. If the project, I cannot add value to that project, then I will not do it. Unfortunately, I will not do it. But what I'm also trying to change is that together with the IAA is the advertising, the International Advertising Association, which is kind of the biggest professional group, marketing professional group in the world. We started, and I've wrote a digital marketing course together with Bogdan Nițu, who is the owner of another big agency in Romania. And we worked, and we literally written the whole digital marketing strategic process from beginning to end about 4 years ago, and we teach that. There's a special school at the IAA, and we teach that since 3 years ago. And we had over 100 brand managers and marketing people here in Romania that went to that course and started to understand about utility, about delivering utility through digital, not delivering advertising. So about using digital not as a communication channel, but as a medium of creating relationships by delivering by this value. I'm giving something useful, Red Bull TV, and you giving me your time, your attention. It's like exactly in this presentation, all these people here are paying not with money, but with time. And we need to give them back something for that time.